Hey folks, um, back with another Money Goes Where video. It's still 2021, although I don't know when I'll actually post this. It will be in the next few days, but if it's the new year, then Happy New Year, one and all. I've been back to Edinburgh, as you'll know if you watch any of the other videos. I'm living out in the middle of nowhere, but I've had a bit of a treat for going back to the big smoke, and I went to a couple of my favourite sales. I'm not a big um, kind of Christmas sales shopper, but there are a couple of shops that I do enjoy having a wee look around in Edinburgh when it's the right time of year for a couple of bargains. So I'm just popping on here to share that with you. One of these is Fopp, which is known, I don't know if it's a chain, I don't know if there's maybe a couple of branches in Scotland, but the one in Edinburgh's been around a long time. It was there when I was a student in Edinburgh, so long time ago now. It's music. They sell a lot of vinyl. It's mainly music. It's music, film and books, really, but I popped in there for a wee browse mainly for the books, because they're pretty cheap, and but they had something that I'd spotted and hadn't bought the first time I went in. In fact, a couple of things. So I took advantage of going back and treated myself really. But this is what I wanted. And look, it was £2 because I bought this other stuff. So this giant heavyweight book by David Sedaris was only £2. Brand new, beautiful book. And I can't wait to read it, to be honest. He's an American. I think he's primarily an essayist and a humorist. I don't really know much about him, to be honest, but I think I've read most of his collections of essays. Probably not all of them, but certainly most of them. They're really kind of gentle, quiet humour. There's a lot of his curiosity about the world is. I mean, it's a fascination with people and places, and it's so interesting to read. I think probably because I hope for myself that I go through life with that same curiosity or something approaching that. Although obviously I'm not a best-selling author, but he's one of those writers who I find really comforting. Actually, it's not his writing. It isn't challenging. It's not technically challenging. It's not a huge dramatic storylines. It's not. It's not really a book that you know that challenges you emotionally or has any kind of difficulty there or any kind of wrenching feelings. But it's very compelling. It's warm, and it's perfect kind of Christmas vacation reading, really. I think when you you're kind of feeling quiet and reflective and you want something gentle, you just want to sit on the sofa under a couple of blankets with a hot drink and a good book and maybe a box of chocolates and read something. And the other author that I feel the same way about is Garrison Keillor, who's another American humorist, super famous, especially in the States, but also over here in the UK, of course. But I've not read David Sedaris, I think, for a while, so I'm really looking forward to getting into that. And this is volume 1 of his diary, so that's a new one for me. But I mean, £2 for a book, I think it's pretty much a bargain these days. £2 for a hardback bargain, a hardback brand new book by one of your favourite authors. I think, I've got no problem with spending that on myself, really. I'll just show you what he says at the back here. The point is to find out who you are and to be true to that person, because so often you can't. Won't people turn away if they know the real me, you wonder? The me that hates my own child, that put my perfectly healthy dog to sleep. The me who thinks deep down that maybe The Wire was overrated. And The Guardian says he's like an American Alan Bennett. So I would recommend David Sedaris on the grounds of what I've read before, and I'm sure I've never been disappointed by him, so I'm sure that won't disappoint. But this is what I'd spotted in Fopp the previous time I went in Edinburgh, and I actually never knew that they sold these. But these are amazing. These are hardback notebooks. God, forgive the reflections. That's terrible, really. Hardback notebooks, 2 for £6 or £4 each. So I got 4, and they're all different colours, because I do have a lot of things that I want to use notebooks for. And I mean, I use tons of notebooks. I use them for journaling, I use them for sketching, I do things like keep dream diaries, you know, so yeah, they're quite an important purchase for me, and they will get used. They're such a big chunky size. Squared paper is, I'm a huge fan of squared paper, like the old graph paper you used to get when you were a kid at school. I love that. I love squared notebooks. I'm a wee bit fussy. I don't like any old. You know, it's not a popular thing to say, but I'm not mad on recycled paper for notebooks. I like really good quality paper. I'm not mad on ring bound notebooks, because I tend to find that they can fall apart. They don't really endure. I like a smooth paper, because I'm also fussy about pens. I don't often use biros, so I've got some particular kind of pens that I use, and I need a particular type of paper to go with them. I'm just trying to unwrap one with one hand to show you what it's like inside. And they're by Sam's, which isn't a brand that I'd heard of before. I'll get these out of the way because the reflection's terrible. Sam's. I mean, this is hefty. And look at the beautiful squared paper. I do quite a lot of writing, but when I write, I also doodle, and there's something about squared paper that lends itself to that. And this is beautifully smooth. So yeah, notebooks are a typical New Year indulgence for me. They're something I will get in the sales. They're something I would spend money on the rest of the year as well, to be fair, although I do try not to buy more than I need. But I got two squared, and these 2 are blank, so I'll probably use the blank ones for they might go for sketching, but I've got a lot of different projects I want to start in 2022. Don't we all? But I find that having the potential of a brand new notebook is kind of, in a way, it's a commitment to that project, that you've bought it in mind for. And once you start writing about your project, once you actually start putting things down in pen and ink, it's like you're putting it on record if you've committed to doing something. I don't know, I just feel like I'm more likely to do it if I've written it down, and if I've got it there in front of me. It makes me more accountable to myself, I find. And another good thing about these particular notebooks is they've got these kind of twangy bits of elastic to keep them closed. And I think they'll look nice. They'll look nice on a shelf. They look nice beside my bed. If I have a notebook by the bed, I feel it's kind of I'm reassuring myself that I'm actually doing something, that I'm planning and getting organised. Notebooks are really good for me for writing lists. I'm a list maker. I need it to stay organised because my brain can be a bit scatty, jumping from one thing to the next, and I do need to keep it in check sometimes. So as well as being used for creative projects, it's you know, I do use notebooks and for list making of people that I've got to email that I can't be bothered to do it really, but I do need to do it, or things I need to get, things I need to do, outstanding tasks that I've been procrastinating over. So notebooks are really important in my life. I tend to write more than I speak. To be honest, I don't have a huge social network, so writing things down, noting things down, journaling and creative writing, they've been important to me for literally as long as I can remember. I can't remember a time when I didn't write creatively or for my own personal purposes. So it's a really big part of my life. So yeah, £6, £6 for two, blank, and £6 for two squared. I'm absolutely so pleased with those. That was from Fopp, and that's on Rose Street in Edinburgh if you're anywhere near. So the notebooks were 12, and then I added that on. I got it for £2, so that was £14 spent in Fopp, which I think is actually a bargain for what I've got and the pleasure it will give me. Apologies for finger and lens there. Now this is usually my favourite shop for the sales. It was overtaken by Fopp this year due to those amazing quality cheap notebooks. Usually Paperchase is their website address. Every year I go to the Paperchase sale. I don't really do clothes sales unless I desperately need clothes. I don't really go to January sales. I've never had a day, you know, go out for the day in the January sales unless I'm in desperate need of something in particular. But I will sometime in January go to Paperchase, and because I'm not in Edinburgh now, I'm not living there, it's not easy for me to do. So I went in there when I was up in Edinburgh this week. I have to say, I'll just add, I'm not mad on their selection online. I don't find is great. I don't know what it's like in the sales, but I've looked on Paperchase a couple of times and online and found it disappointing really compared to the physical shop experience. It's not just about touching things. I found their range. I found the range, not great. But having said that, I was so looking forward to the Paperchase sale when I was back in Edinburgh. I completely mistimed it. I assumed that they would shut at 6, and they were actually shutting at 5. And I went in there at, I think I walked in the door at 10 to 5, because before too long they said, oh, we're closing in 5 minutes, and I hadn't had a chance to have a proper look around at all. I don't know if that's their normal closing time. I swear it used to be 6 o'clock for the Edinburgh branch. So yeah, it was a bit of a rush job really. I just grabbed a couple of things that I knew would be useful. This notebook, it says £8. This was 50% off. Having said I don't like ring bound notebooks, and this is hardback. It looks fairly sturdy. They do ring bound notebooks that have got a plastic cover, thin plastic cover, and the plastic covers just kind of come off, which I wouldn't buy again. And this has got narrow lines, fairly narrow lines, and I like narrow lines. I don't like wide ruled. Again, I've got a kind of work project, side hustle kind of thing that I've got this particular book earmarked for, and it's got the elastic to keep it closed again. So I thought for £4 it's quite sturdy. It's not an unattractive notebook. It will get used. It's a decent price for Paperchase, 50% off in the sale. A wee bit extravagant maybe, but anyway, I feel like Paperchase is an extravagance that I allow myself, but I don't know, when you're trying to budget, when you're trying to be a bit more strict and accountable, you have to say to yourself at some point, you know, you have to stop yourself with these indulgences at some point. And it's finding that line that's the challenge, when you, especially when you've got buying habits, purchasing habits, and shops, even things that seem quite innocuous and it's a once a year thing. Still, if you're going into that shop once a year and you're dropping 40 or 50 quid, it's, you know, you're still rupturing your budget, really. So you have to ask yourself a few questions about that at some point. These aren't for me, and these weren't in the sale, but my son was with me. He usually picks something out of Paperchase because he likes, he loves mechanical pencils. Actually, he's a pencil guy. I'm a pen guy. But I usually get him a treat because he doesn't typically get many treats out with birthday and Christmas, and he doesn't do a lot of writing or note making, even though I feel that it would be useful for him as a young man to get organised. He's a bit like me in the ways that he has difficulty getting organised, so I do kind of encourage him to do that. So if he says, I want some pencils and I want a notebook, then I kind of say yes, because I feel that the cost of it is justified by what he could potentially get out of it in the end, in terms of writing more, planning his life a bit better, and just having a wee bit of pleasure, you know, because it's, you know, it's fun for him to pick something out, and for me to be able to get it when we're back in the town for a treat. So these weren't in the sale, £6. So it's at £1 per pencil. I don't know how well they last. I think mechanical pencils you have to reload with lead, don't you? I don't like pencils myself, and I actually don't like the mechanical ones at all, because the leads feel so thin and fragile. And I'm not mad on that really lightweight kind of plastic feel, but he likes them and they're his, so that's good. So that was £6. Now diaries, I've got a diary that was a half-year diary. It started in summer 2021, and I got it for, it was meant to cover everything. It was meant to be my personal diary for my own personal appointments and things, and also for work. When I started my current job in 2021, but work's taken over because I have so many things, dates and times to note down for work, that it's, you know, my current diary that I'm using has just been turned over to work. It's absolutely stuffed full of everything work related, but it's got all my personal stuff in it as well. So I don't like it. I don't like the fact that all my personal appointments and personal things have been subsumed by stuff that I'm writing down for work. And I'm old school. I'm sure it's a generational thing, but I like diaries where you're writing with a pen and you're flicking through and reading. So I do, every year I get a diary, and I think probably four out of every 5 years I get them from Paperchase. Although you do get good quality, decent quality hardback diaries, or pretty robust diaries in places like Home Bargains and Poundland. So I've bought those in the past, but this was 50% off, and I'm going to use this for kind of organising my personal projects. And so the old diary that's been running since the middle of 2021, I'll just give that over to work now, since it's covered in work related scrawl anyway. And this can be a bit more personal, and then I can keep the two things separate, which I think is good for anyone's mental health, to be honest. It was 50% off, so it started out as a tenner. Cost me a fiver. 2022. It's got enough space. It's not a day to a page. My old diary is a day to a page, but this is enough. It's 2 days to a page. I like hardback because diaries, I tend to carry them around in a bag, and they get a softback diary gets a wee bit mashed up the way I treat it. So this is pretty solid. Grey is my favourite colour, and that's kind of grey, so that's what made me pick it up. They had so many diaries. Paperchase have so many diaries in their sale. I'd challenge anyone to find a diary they didn't like in the Paperchase sale, but that was my one. And this is going to pick up reflections of various light sources, I'm sure. But this is my son chose this, and this is Agenzio, which is the Paperchase. It's their own brand of kind of very good quality notebooks. They're hardback. They've got the elastic thing. They've got this lovely creamy paper, really smooth paper. And I buy their squared Agenzio notebooks for kind of personal journalism and creative projects. But this is a budget planner, which is a new one that we've not seen before. But my son wants this because he's all about money and finance and things way more than I am, doing this kind of very casual vlog. But he's got a project that's going to have these kind of income, outlay and balance. And he spotted this straight away, and he was like, oh, that's going to be so useful. And they are quite expensive to start with, as you can see. That the original cost of this was £14, but 70% off, so we got it for £4.20, which is pretty much unheard of for this. You can see £14 there. So this was a complete bargain, and he's really keen to get his hands on this, which is why he's hurrying me up to do this video, because he wants that, and he wants his mechanical pencils to go with it, because he knows what he wants to write in this. He's going to get going with that today, I think. So yeah, Paperchase was more expensive than Fopp, and we were literally the last ones out of the shop when they said that there was 5 minutes till closing. We just grabbed these few things, and it was just shy of 20 quid. And of course the Fopp stuff was 14. So we, in weight and page count, we got more out of Fopp, but Paperchase is my happy little January, or winter rather, festive tradition. And in terms of satisfaction and happiness, I'm not sure that anything gives you as much satisfaction emotionally as in terms of purchases as buying notebooks. I don't know if that sounds daft, but I know loads of other people are into notebooks, and people do love their notebooks and their good quality paper and their journals and diaries and things. So I know I'm not the only one, but yeah, getting a notebook that I love and is smooth, and it, my pen feels so good on it, and I know exactly what I'm going to use it for. There's something kind of quite satisfying about that in a really holistic way. It satisfies me mentally and emotionally, and if I can do that for not much money, then all the better. But on the other hand, £35. Are they necessary purchases? I mean, I would say yes. I think I did my best in terms of finding bargains. I don't buy full price stuff. Never. I don't think I ever buy full price notebooks, to be honest. So yeah, I'm doing my best with that. I suppose it's very much a first world thing to go out in the January sales and buy 35 quid's worth of, notebooks and pencils, and when you're supposed to be on a budget. But anyway, that's it. I'm not going to get too angsty about something that brings me joy, but there, I've put it down. I've logged it. That's my spending Fopp and Paperchase in Edinburgh. And I'm trailing off now, and it's 26 minutes long, so I'm just going to sign off and go and hand my son his 2 Paperchase treats. Thanks for watching.